The war has changed it. Why? Because we just felt the death was right next to us.
How you see the work that we have to do to save this planet.
They just need a tool where they can see themselves and where they can see everybody else and where they can see some analytics on how changed, for example, his town on being green.
When we talk about climate change, we talk about the science, the numbers, the urgency. In this conversation, we explore not only her climate work.
Hey, big businesses, you want to blame? You have to all switch to the alternative energy, whatever, do all these circular initiatives and everything.
The work that we have to do to save this planet.
The planet will save itself.
The planet will exist, but humans are endangered.
And then the war happens. And war happens and everything goes just to the shelf.
What makes her story so powerful is not just her impact and sustainability, it's the context behind it. My guest today, Oksana, is the founder of Mama Plant a Tree, an official partner of the UN's Trillion Tree Campaign. Her work has helped restore forests, mobilize communities, and inspire global action. Oksana is Ukrainian. She's navigating life during a war. She's raising her kids abroad. She's leading an international environmental effort while living through displacement, uncertainty, and exhaustion. In this conversation, we explore not only her climate work, but the inner journey of sustaining purpose when the world feels so heavy. We talk about how war reshapes your relationship to land, nature, belonging, and hope, and why planting trees can be both a scientific act and an act of emotional reclamation. Because at the core, this isn't just a story about climate change. This is a story about what happens when one woman refuses to give up. What we don't talk about enough is the human story, the people behind the solutions, the emotional weight that they carry, and the sacrifices that they make, and the quiet resilience it takes to keep going. Oksana, I feel so honored to have you and to hear your story, and the work that you're doing is just absolutely fascinating and beautiful. You're so committed to healing this planet. And your commitment as a mother, your commitment in a very difficult time, coming out of a war, navigating life around that. There's so much going on, and I'm just so grateful to be able to share your story. So welcome to Reframing Perspectives.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me here.
Oksana, you have a commitment that you have made, a movement to plant 350 million hectares of new forest by 2030. And
only this moment, it's not that I committed, but then there were countries who committed it. I just joined.
Right.
Global.
You joined this movement, and so far 170 million have been already planted.
Thousands of that's the global number, correct?
Right. So what was the moment that you realized that you had to join this movement?
I went on maternity leave and I knew that I don't want to go back to the regular office job, even though it was successful. I had a successful career and financially wise, everything. But I felt like at my 30, when I closed all my financial needs, basically you reached that American dream you wanted, and realized that I just don't want to work for any kind of IT service or which develops some entertaining or some game or some telecommunication, another game, or even, I mean, there are some valuable IT services that, but I don't know, I felt like I need to contribute to the planet. And the way I knew it was the nature. Okay. I'm sure that there are IT services that are saving lives to people. Absolutely. And care in, how in hospitals and they help it. But for some reason I felt that I can contribute much more if I go into just nature itself. I did not want to plant trees initially. I did not.
What did you want to do initially?
No, initially there was no war. There was no COVID yet. It was 2020. And the only question wasn't that big rising on the planet, that climate issue. And that was first winter in Kyiv when we did not have a snow. And it was like, wow, what? How come? And all companies, all corporates, if they were doing something, they would be doing something for green initiatives. And it was getting big. And I was sitting in the kitchen of my mom while my baby was sleeping, and I realized that we will not be doing anything. I mean, planting trees is just kind of fighting with the symptoms of the problem. But the problem is ourselves, our consumption, our overconsumption, right? We have to change the way we consume. That was my initial kind of thought and idea that what has to happen on the earth, but I did not know how to do it. Well, but I knew it has to happen at the level of individual. And I came up with something like sort of called eco passport or green passport. I used to call it at the very beginning. And I kind of made a presentation and everything. And I didn't know where to go with this. Like the only place you can go to is your government. And I did record something and I did send it, but like we just had our government changing, which was good because it was more progressive, more like going into digitalization and everything was young, promising government. But I did not know the technology, how I would like to like touch every person. Like I just saw it as a G2C kind of some kind of project, and that's it. And it's like, because I was not in technology, I could not understand like how I can let every person know how much GHG emissions they spend, how everyone can learn it. Until now, we just had, and have until now still, the CO2 calculators where you put in the information, how much you driven, flown, and stuff like this. And that's like, you don't even know if it's for real. You've flown this many miles. You're not sure, right? You have to go and check. You have to check your bills, how much water you've spent, electricity. You don't even know where your bills are, like you're just paying it automatically. So I wanted it to do it in one, so people get this information in one click. How much GHG emissions I have produced past months, past year, half past the year. And I did not know how to do it. And then 2020, I had my birthday and I invited many people with my birthday. Of course, I wanted to have it, of course, also devoted to some kind of natural initiative. And I asked everybody to bring a tree. And everybody thought that they're going to bring me the tree, just like a present, So everybody was choosing some tree, calling me like, which tree you want, this one or this one? I said, listen, just bring whatever you like. They did not know what we had in mind. At their party itself, we made it as a public party. We exchanged people with these trees, like cast between themselves and among themselves. And they had to go back home still with the tree, but from someone else, with the phone number of the person, blah, blah. They had to plant it. Like we made it fun and cool. And so we wanted to do it as some kind of competition where they plant and they tag someone else in Instagram saying, hey, I pass you the button to go ahead and plant as well. And I thought that maybe we can drag that this way, that people will plant 1 million, just people by passing a button. But it was slow and lazy. At first, I was like angry at people. How can they be so lazy at the planet? We need those trees. But then I realized the problem. Everybody was calling me and saying, hey, Oksana, we lived in Kiev downtown. I mean, in Kiev city. And they called me, Oksana, I cannot plant a tree here. I'm not allowed. I need a permission. What kind of permission? I didn't know. And they didn't know either. I'm like, really? He says, yes. The second one calls me, Oksana, but how am I going to water it if I go to job every morning? And I don't pass this park where I'm going to plant it. Okay. And the other one called me, Oksana, I have not had 1 single minute to go and plant it. It was already a month past or something. It was the spring, right? So he said, I'm going to plant it during the autumn. And he just had this tree standing somewhere on the balcony. So people didn't have time. People didn't have a possibility because they need some kind of permission and all this, a lot of bureaucracy. And it's in every country. And then I learned it after that in the cities you have to have a permission for this. And then of course a spade, the bucket of water, organize this. It's true. I realized that so many people who like to plant the trees, they cannot just do it. I decided that I can do their website real fast. I just thought it real fast. I'll just do the website where you can hit the button, plant a tree, and this donation will just go to the forest or something. So real fast, we'll do this website. We launch it when the COVID starts. Literally, we launched the website today. In 3 days, we have the COVID, which shut down everything, and nothing is allowed. You cannot go anywhere. You cannot even go to the forest. So we do nothing, but we keep planting. Me and my family, my husband, we just went out and to plant trees to build more cases, to have it on the website, to show that we are planting. We are a credible company, that not like your donation will go somewhere, because there is a lot of mistrust always into these companies that he will plant the trees, but we will cut it and sell it or something. So during this first year, we were also ordering plantings from forest, few hectares. So we planted 16,000 trees. And then 21st comes and it becomes a very successful year. People more and more start, they want to go out from offices. They want to go back to the nature. And the first thing that they wanted to go, and they did not want to do any corporate events in any restaurants or cafes. They wanted to go outside. So we just did 2 days campaign, regular one on Instagram, just to let people know that this website exists. Remember, I wanted it I just do the website and they donate, and I will do my verification thing, right? But then we just kind of put it on advertisement, and people, I don't know, we get flooded. One cafe has done a collaboration with us. They called us and they said, can we do this like from every check that we plant a tree or something? I said, yeah, sure. And it appeared to be some very famous cafe in Kyiv, which I didn't know, which is a restaurant and chain of restaurants, like a high level. And once they did the collaboration, we had to stop our advertisement because the page was just flooded with people and calls and emails and messages. And there was just me and two girls there behind the screen. We did not know because the inquiries were absolutely different. Where they, like, somebody wanted to do a team building. Somebody wanted to plant from the company. Somebody wanted, can I plant trees for my guest? I'm having a wedding, instead of the, like, all these candies and stuff, you know? Can I, the types of services that people wanted to do around these planting trees initiatives were incredible, and we just did not know how to put it all together. Like, there was no actual business model. We just wanted a button, and here they come up with so many different requests that I would love to satisfy. I want them to do all this what they want. I want to kind of sit down and dance and everything around them, so they get the service that they want. And that's what we started to do. Yeah, we have to pause the campaign and everything because we just did not manage the flood. We had, within, I don't know, 2 weeks, we had 70 orders. We completed, I don't know, maybe half of that, maybe even less. But we had so many pre-orders for autumn 21. We completed them as well. Like, even Binance charity has called us and they planted 10,000 trees with us just to start, because they had a big CSR to compensate the CO2 and everything. And they planned to do like much more with us in the next year. And we planted that big forest with them in Kherson area. Can you imagine, like how dramatic it was after? And then we have a huge pre-order for spring 22. And we already have enough cash. And I said, okay, I'll just do this technology myself. I already realized how. I spoke to the digital minister of Ukraine back then, some minister, and they loved the idea about the eco-verification, okay? And then the war happens.
Right.
And war happens and everything goes just to the shelf. Whatever we had, I spread it around my team, the little team of ladies who have been there. They also were moving with their families, with their kids to other countries. You have to rent an apartment. You have to pay, everything you even didn't have where to pay from. And you will not have the income next month. So like everything I had, I given to them, like we shared it and that's it. And we just left, everybody in different country, calling each other. And it was on a shelf. And then I just said to the God that I really want to help somehow to my country with anything you want me to help. There was so much of volunteering work happening, and I was pregnant. I was 8 months pregnant at that moment. I couldn't do anything but online. And I said, these trees, I would be happy to continue, but I understand that country is burying people right now. They're looking for bags to place dead bodies. When that's the lady, what she told me, I was in a maternity ward, and she tells me, oh, you girls are doing voluntary work. Can you help us with bags? And I said, yeah, sure, with bags. And she just says black plastic bags for the dead bodies, because in the town where she was from, that's all they needed at that moment. And I couldn't believe that is happening in my country. Those big bag trash plastic bags. That's what my country was looking for. So of course I could not give any even think of planting any or advertising planting trees or something. So it was all on the shelf. And I said to God, I'm happy to move the trees story again, but not alone anymore. Not bootstrapped anymore, only if you help. And then, I don't know, in half a year or so, someone sends me the link, apply for some fund. And it was a Google fund. I was like, oh my God, it's just so complicated, But of course, I will, I think I delivered already the first month or something, and maybe both of the kids were sleeping. So I thought I'm doing something. And and I wanted to apply with this ecological project for people, individuals, eco-verification thing. And I see that they're asking for pitch deck and the video. And at that moment, it was just the pre-seed, the idea. I did not have the video, I just had a pitch deck. But this Mama Planted Tree, it had both video and pitch deck and everything. I'm like, okay, then I can send Mama. So I just kind of fill out this Mama Planted Tree. And in a few months, I got the email that I'm enrolled in some accelerator and this, and I'm kind of checking the names and everybody. And I understand that was this Google fund that I applied for, and we passed in, and we enrolled, and there were only 2 ecological projects among all the companies that they picked, all the IT. So because they liked the idea that it's in one click, plant a tree in one click, and plant basically in Ukraine, and we get in. And the first question that one of the mentors says, what other product would you like to do in your company? And I said, I don't know, like, what else you can have but from trees? I don't know. We all were kind of damaged, so nobody could think properly. And he says, but all your forests right now are mined. You know that? I said, I know. My mother's forest is mined right now, right near her house. And I know, and I think this is something that I'm really thinking of every night. You're just like taking it from the tip of my tongue. I'm thinking every day, when we go back, we cannot go to the forest anymore. And I will be all the time, I will be afraid even to let them outside of the yard because they will run into the forest and they can be exploded. And I'm like, yes, I know. And he says, well, don't you want to help him somehow? I said, but how? He says, well, you have 2 months to find out how. Because I said, it's a government has to do that. He says, yeah, talk to the government and see what you can do.
Hi, friends. I have a favor to ask you. If you're enjoying these episodes, then I'd really love it if you could subscribe, leave a review, or share it with your friends and family. Your words help others discover that the stories and these episodes exist in the perspectives that we're exploring over here. And the more that we can grow, the more feedback that we get from you through those reviews, the more we can make sure that we're creating meaningful episodes that you want to listen to. You have no idea how much this helps and how much I appreciate you for doing this. So if you don't mind, whether it's following us, subscribing, hitting the button below, if you can leave a review for us, or if you just share this with your friends and family, the episodes that you think that they would really resonate with, it means more to us than you can imagine. Thank you so much.
I was so happy that someone supported me. Like, someone told me that you can do it, you know? I'm like, okay, yeah, definitely I can. I mean, I don't know how, but definitely I can. So I called, and within this was all accelerating time, I partnered with the National Security Services. And at that moment, they needed everything. Like, the country had nothing, you know. They said, we have the ammunition and everything. We just need machines, those machines that are big demining machines. One machine cost $1 million. And I said, yes, sure, we will do the fundraising. Don't worry, we'll get you those machines. And they needed 60 machines in Ukraine in order to demine all that territory, that 175,000 square meters. We did the campaign. We did spend so much money. We chosen the wrong strategy. We wasted all the money. We went to the West. We went to US. We went to Europe. We did the advertisement that way. First, when trees were not any more popular, you know, in Ukraine, it was like a magic. They liked it. At 2020, it was about people just started to learn that they need to plant trees. While in US and Europe, people did not believe anymore in offsetting, which is true, which is right thing. And they didn't care. And it was already 9 months after the war started, almost a year. And people were sick of Ukraine. So that campaign did not go well. Tons of money wasted. All the hopes wasted. We did not get the 1 million, even one machine. Okay. Because we had to plant 1 million trees basically. But I thought it's going to be so easy, you know, with tons of people around the world. And I have few thousands left. I don't know, some 10,000. And I go back to them and say, listen, we did not get the big machine for you. But what else you maybe need? You know, we just take the money or something. He says, we don't need the money. We need machines. But by this time, we also need robotics. We just got one from Israel and one from US, and they are not adapted to our landscape. They got stuck in the tall grass. For example, when Russians leave, nobody goes into the area because it's mined. So the grass keeps growing and it's very tall. It's more than 2 meters, you know, it's taller than the person. And so he explained that what kind of machines it needs to be and everything. And he says, and of course we need them cheap because if the $100,000 robo gets exploded, we don't have another one to buy for another half a year or more. The budgets are scarce. We need them cheap. I said, okay. So I found a Ukrainian company who does the remote control vehicles. And I asked him, can you do the, remote control vehicle, but they don't want for this and these purposes. Basically, they needed a very precise hand that would put their detonation, I don't know how it's called in English, sorry, all these military things that on the mine, and they will detonate it remotely, And they say, yeah, sure, we can do that. And we arranged it, and we created this machine last year, and we tested successfully, and it's very powerful, strong machine, which goes everywhere in the mud and sand and, survives in all the places. And it's cheap. It was $15,000, and they were super happy with this. And other parts of we have this National Security Services, which is humanitarian demining, right? We have also military separate. We have national police that's separate, units, right? And they also were becoming more and more interested in this, and just certification and things that they kind of place. There still needs a lot of done. So even though this company became not as profitable, it's not as Sorry, I said it with one question and I cannot tell you all the story, but that's how it was evolving, from one thing
Right,
to another.
right. And it became, right. And now it's become something where it's removing one mine and placing the tree, and it's helping to like demine.
Once they clear the territory, then we can go and plant trees. Yes.
Right, right, right. Yeah, there's a lot there that I want to unpack, and what I really would love to like talk to you about, Oksana, is just even this journey of the evolution of what you've created and what you're doing and the movement that you're working with because of the war and because of the challenges that have happened there. How do you find that that has also changed your relationship or reframed your relationship with the importance of the work that you're doing and your relationship with nature, your relationship with the land, your relationship with how you see the work that we have to do to save this planet?
I realized that we don't have to save the planet. We have to save ourselves, because the planet will save itself in just a second, minute, an hour, I don't know, a few hours, 24 hours probably. It's just us will be those who will die, who will not cease to exist probably. Because when we were moving from war, before the war, I was like a super active, green activist in the house. Recycling, not using the plastic, giving a headache to my husband that, we cannot buy food in a plastic, green shopper, green bag, all this thing, which are great actions. But if they are focused only and done by one person and, billions of people are doing exactly the opposite thing, it doesn't matter. And when I was standing in Poland a few days after the war with plastic in my hand, food in plastic or something, I don't know, and I was trashing it into the regular trash, I did not feel sorry for a single moment. That's how it changed, but not the work that I did, but the war has changed it. Why? Because we just felt the death was right next to us. So we will not be dying from plastic, but we can die from other people who are throwing, these bombs at us and stuff. We can die from COVID was just before the war. It also was caused by people, right? By humans, or some other disaster which the earth will use to kind of wash itself, The earth does not understand if it's washing itself from plastic or from people, who is under that flood or under that hurricane. It's just doing what it needs to do, considering the physical conditions which are happening on the earth and around it, and atmosphere and all the CO2, the temperature. It just continues work as it works physics, right? And us, we either think with our mind and kind of watch this physics happen, right? Like emit less CO2 into the air, into the atmosphere, so it doesn't overheat and doesn't start cleaning itself or something. I don't know what the hell, nobody knows. Like all the science they give, the climate forecast, and they kind of explain all the disasters that may happen and which are like real, right, to happen. If this temperature is high, this heat will happen here, this lands will dry out there, which leads to these hurricanes, these floods, this on the other side of the planet, or these eruptions of volcanoes, these plus sides of the planet. But they still don't even know 100% what will happen and where, right? So it's a magic that we will still see, we will notice, and I think our generation will be the one to witness how sad it is. And we just have to understand that we don't have to save the planet. Planet is fine, absolutely fine. It was existing before humanity was on it. It is existing now, and it will exist even more. We are saving us on the planet.
How do you feel that, like, with that change of that perspective, that it's like, oh, it's not the planet, but we have to save ourselves. We have to think about how we are actually ruining ourselves. Like you said, the planet will exist, but humans are endangered. Exactly. And humans may go extinct, but the planet will find itself. I mean, the fact that when COVID happened and everyone went back inside and we saw the planet thriving in just that short period of time. Yes. So in that perspective of, we have to really look at it. You talked in the very beginning about us having to change the way that we consume, the way that we create, and changing the behaviors of how we are. One of the things that I just find with people is that when you have options and access to it, to lose that option and access feels like you're getting something taken away from you, right? And here in the US, of course, everything's been built so much on capitalism and consumerism. Everything is big. Everything is large. And to tell an American, for example, that, to change the way that you're consuming this or consuming less of, they have a reaction to it versus, other parts of the world. My question, and I'm curious to you, is that as you have been shifting this narrative of we have to save ourselves, and you're helping others become more aware of what that looks like and how they are making sure they're conscious about the CO2 emissions and they're thinking about the way that they're consuming things to save ourselves. What have you noticed in that shift in people starting to lean into this new narrative also?
Well, yeah, I definitely confirmed myself that trees are great, but it's just one of the instruments, and we have to go back to the individual. So I kind of pulled my other project from the shelf, and I did not what I can do with this. I just did not have an idea. And since I was an alumni of a Google for Startups, and I was pitching actually this eco-reification back there. I said, yes, we are Mama Planted Tree, but we already know what we do with trees. We know what we do with demining and everything, but this is the thing that needs to be out in the world. And I will surprise you, more and more people. Well, it's just by analytics of Mama Planted Tree. We have tons of young people who come. We want to plant trees. Young people, IT companies, a lot of big corporate companies whose main workforce are young IT people. They come to us as well. We want to plant. We want to do the corporate planting, blah blah, because these people drive it. Okay, so they come. The kids themselves, the kids, young people, they come, they want to plant trees or send us gift certificates, I planted a tree for you or something like this, and they tag on Instagram and all the social media just to show that I have done something for the climate. They want to do something for the climate, but they don't know what. So they just find these trees as the only thing that you can do for the climate.
Right, but that's one solution. It's not the only solution.
Yeah, they understand that if he's going with the green shopper bag and he's the only one, it's just if he's gonna be recycling and he's the only one, it's not gonna work. So planting trees is something that he justifies for himself as, okay, I'll please do that. I checked it off. I've done everything I could for the climate, and here I go. They just need a tool where they can see themselves and where they can see everybody else and where they can see some analytics on how changed, for example, his town on being green. Like, did this block where he lives, how many people are being green and how many people are not yet, and what they're doing, so they can measure it and plan the KPIs, how they can improve it. Only after that, you can kind of start, managing it, because now everything is on the shoulders of businesses, of corporates. Hey, big businesses, you want to blame, you have to all switch to the alternative energy, whatever, do all these circular initiatives and everything. While even if tomorrow we are 100% on alternative energy, all the planet, and we still consume the way we consume today, we will be immediately exhausting tremendously the other resource, lithium and mercury, or for batteries, which is not being recycled as of today yet. So if we don't start consuming the way we do, if we don't change to the conscious consuming, to the green consuming, the businesses will not help. And businesses don't drive any aggressive changes because all green initiatives, all green organic products are more expensive. So they're afraid to lose the customer. The customer doesn't know about it and doesn't care. So he just keeps consuming. So you know that you would like to change something. But since there is no offer, nobody tells you that you personally, Payal, you're just polluting is so bad. If someone has come and told you this, you would start kind of, cleaning up, right? But you don't know. Nobody told you about it, So the first thing, my first desire was to deliver the data to people, let them measure themselves. That was my main kind of target that I was looking the technology for.
Yeah, what I'm really hearing is the fact that we don't know how many people care about climate change, to your point, and that's why we need to collect the data. But more so than that, I think, to your point, it's that people don't know what they can do. And so the thing is that when something feels so big and daunting, like, oh, the climate change is going to cause us to die, it's going to extinct human species, it feels like such a big thing. And it's also hard for a lot of people in every day to actually understand how my day-to-day is affecting it, because it feels like so far. Humans are they need to have tangible example today, like what is affecting me today, right? And what I'm really hearing is it's like, how do we break this really big mission, this really big commitment into digestible, easy to understand elements for the everyday person? And from there, what can someone do? Because to tell someone, you've got to participate in this, but they themselves are like, well, how am I supposed to do something for this? Like, I don't know. But even the things that you mentioned, right? Like with everything, of course, that's going on in Ukraine, and the fact that, well, women came together to fundraise. People came together to learn how to build drones. People came together to learn how to do these things. Those are all those actions. If we go back in history and look at whenever there were movements, World War I, World War II, Civil War in America, like things like this, it was, women played such a big role in creating the messaging and navigating and organizing communities in making sure that things are moving systematically in order to support the country, to support the movement. And I just think of it as what you're really talking about is a community coming together and a collaboration that's happening for each other, with each other. And, I want to know from you that, of course, again, having to leave Ukraine, you're 8 months pregnant, there's so much happening. How has navigating everything with the war shifted also your own relationship with activism?
I just wanted to double it.
Yeah.
Double it. Well, definitely doubled it first of activism towards the war and everything that people needed to survive. I was trying to do everything possible. And then when I found I think the God kind of pointed that demining is the thing that you are responsible for. You go and you fundraise there and you do the work there. Even though I'm doing, I don't know, not tenth, 100th or 1,000th piece, right? But just like a piece that one title of the model of the car that we created. But we just actually now developed a new speeding demining where we can demine 2 hectares in 1 hour, because we realized all those machines that will take still, even with the big machines, it still takes a lot of time because they are 70% effective. So they leave 30% of mines after the work that they've done on the ground. So we gone into the speed demining, and that's what we are moving right now, and we need to move it fast. So I was happy that I'm kind of on after one area here in the war. I know what I'm doing, what I'm helping with, because every person in Ukraine was struggling. Like they felt, it's called the survival instinct. When somebody is dying and you cannot help it, then you just you feel sorry and you feel guilt.
Yeah, the survivor's
guilt. Life, right?
Right.
And you're alive, so you're trying to find what you can do, how you can be helpful to your country. I'm happy that God has pointed me here. Is your job, do it. I am after this. Everybody's asking me on LinkedIn because I'm posting all these things about demining. Is it your new startup? Is it a new startup? I said, no, it's just the necessity that we have right now in the country. And I hope that we exit from this startup the sooner the better.
Yeah. But it sounds to me also, and this is something that I'm just a firm believer about, is that we all have our purpose of what we care about, but the way that purpose manifests can show up differently, and is not to necessarily get attached to the physical manifestation of what that is. So for example, you started off with everyone plant a tree, and then the purpose was still about climate change and about climate healing for us. And that still is a very viable solution. It's still very important. And then it changed to how do we help make sure that our communities are surviving through this war and through this really horrible tragedy that's happening. But even with that, your purpose has stayed the same. It's been around, demining is still about changing, making sure that there's safety measures, there's protocols. The land is clean.
Agriculture. Absolutely.
Right. My grandmother actually, on my mother's side, her whole family was in the military in India. And my grandmother's brother actually, he unfortunately, this is back 50s and 60s in India, he passed away because he stepped on a mine and blew up, and he was in the military. And so his son, my uncle, his mom was 5 months pregnant with him when his father, blew up from the mine. And so he never met his father, but has all these memories of stories that he's been shared about this, right? So the work that you're doing, it just goes so much further than that. It's a protection of these veterans, of these army individuals, of the regular citizen, of, who are just, animals, right? To create safety. And if we can't have safety in our just land, just where we're supposed to just be able to shelter in. So to me, I find that your work is so much more than just planting trees. It's about the safety of our home and what that home looks like for us to be able to survive. And that may be demining. It was trees, and tomorrow it may change to something else. But what I think is so beautiful is like you're helping people find what is their gift, what is their strength, what can they do in this bigger mission together.
Yeah, actually, if you ask the God this question, he will show you. Just wait and listen, and he will definitely show you where he needs the help with, and you just go on helping him. By the way, I never knew that there are more countries mined, and once we are already in this topic and everything, I learned that Colombia, Myanmar, many countries in Africa, Afghanistan, which is still mined, and I was like, wow. And those countries also need help, and especially with the equipment that we have, because we are progressing differently. Even Germany is still mined today. There are Ukrainians who live there, and they said, once I saw that one forest was kind of crossed, you cannot enter. And he asked those people, why I cannot enter there? He said, it's mine. He said, from what? Who did it? And the World War II. So until now, 80 years passed, they still have pieces not mine. It was just going slow, maybe the machinery, or I don't know why it's until now it's mine. It's just huge territories that mine there. It just takes so much time to demine. So you asked me how it's changed towards the activism. I just want to double it and make it faster. The speed it is so much important, because so in demining, if we don't demine this in territories and they just stay blocked, we are losing $6 billion every year and not used it for agriculture, because we have a lot of export of agricultural products, and we cannot use it, and for foresters and for everything. And with the climate, if we don't engage individuals in the process of changing the climate, everything that scientists are describing will just be happening so much faster. Like I say it like in the 80 years and 100 years, but we already see that so many things are happening. And like we said, okay, if we will remain in the same consumption, the drastic changes will start after in 100 years, okay? But the war added, then I don't know, something else probably around the world which we don't know, right? Which is not as noisy, but still produces a lot of GHG emissions, right? Because war produces I don't know. They even those trillions and trillions and trillions that they're calculating the impact of GHG emissions, not talking about animals and bees. The bees, how important are the bees? So I have the one activist in South area, which is closer to the front of where the action happens. He says, Oksana, we need to do something immediately right now. You cannot wait. The honey that I'm getting is so bad. It has never been so lean, or I don't know how you can, it's the same amount probably, but
it's more watery. It's not as.
Yeah, I'll ask him. I don't understand and all those things. But he said, it's not honey anymore. It has nothing. So we don't have bees, or bees is emaciated. I don't know, you cannot take them to kind of look at them. I don't know. But he's so much, he's proposing let's take and create a completely new forest, because they need a lot of different floweries, bushes, and not just regular forest, So he's fighting there for it. He's talking to the government about it, and he wants us to support. So we're trying to do the best, so we can rent a completely new space where we can plant a completely new species. I mean, they're not new to Ukraine, but those that are needed for bees. So speed has to evolve, double, triple. That's why this verification thing that I'm pursuing now, I found the technology. In 2013, I enrolled into one American accelerator, and then at the kind of ending of accelerator, where all the kind of developers were there. And there was an Indian guy who passed by my computer when it was open, and he says, what eco-passport is, what eco-verification is. And I explained him and I said, but I don't know how to do it. And he explained in two steps, but you can do this, this, and this, and this. So yeah, really, of course. I did not have anybody who was experienced in that, even though there are tons of people like this in Ukraine. It's just, I was not exposed to those. So I had to be in that accelerator, And then once I started to explore, I easily found the technological investors. I presented at few conferences, and people love it. And the scale of the technology is few weeks. In a few weeks, we can cover US, we can cover Canada and whole Europe. Because the aggregate of data of your consumption is already there, is already available, which I'm very happy about. I was looking for them for several years. I didn't know they exist. I did not know this fintech world at all, because it has to do with banking, right? And your consumption, cards and transactions and everything. So it is fast, and we need to act fast. So imagine, Payal, I'll tell you today how much GHG emissions you've done for the last month or last year. How this data would impact you? Like, what would you, like, today you learned that you're overpolluting like double or triple than the allowed number. What would you do? Imagine, like, you just learned the number and you say what? What's your actions? What would you like to change?
Yeah. I mean, I would have to really assess, what could I change? What is making the biggest impact? What out of my actions is the highest percentage that is contributing to the polluting, and really looking, and then also looking realistically at what I could do, right? So I think one of the things, for example, I think is important is, right now I live in Los Angeles. You're driving your car everywhere. So it's like, do you get an electric car versus, for example, my favorite city to live in is New York City, and I can walk everywhere there. So it's like you let go of that, right? So there's so many in Amsterdam, right? It's such a biking city. Like everyone is biking. And
would you move to Amsterdam or would you move to New York to change?
oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, but it depends, right? Like, I think that, but you have to take into consideration, some people can't move. Some people don't have that opportunity to move, right? And so what can you do? But I think that is personal choices have to go into that. It's no different than any personal choices you make towards your finances, towards your life decisions, your career decisions. I think thinking about consuming, climate and like what your contribution is in that, you have to actually sit down with this and look at like, how do we actually contribute and make sure that we're doing the right things to help survive ourselves, as you say.
So you
Oksana
told you like, what would you do? You started to think what you can do. That's exactly what we are looking for,
Yeah, and I think we need to have more of those.
But not action that you recycle or recycling or carrying the shopping bag, because it cannot measure your GHG emissions, but because waste management is not digitalized yet, but which is a very good thing, by the way. And like, if I have possibilities and resources, the digitalization of waste would be my first thing to go after, this eco-verification for individuals.
Yeah.
Because basically the eco-verification of individuals works this way, just wanted to go back for a second. One friend from US, like telling you that you thought that probably people from US will just, they don't react properly if you tell them to do something wrong. No. So one friend from US recently, I was trying to do it in Ukraine. In Ukraine, there are some APIs are not available yet. It was back in, this July, but they are building it already. And there is a law that you have to open all these APIs of consumptions and everything, which was available in Europe. So I was kind of trying to start first in Europe somewhere, at least do the pilot or something. And then I was thinking about US, but I thought it's so far away. And, and then Trump pulled out from the Paris Agreement. They probably won't need it, they won't care or something. And then one friend of mine writes to me and says, Oksana, I know that you're doing all this eco-verification, you're trying all these pilots and everything, where I can go and learn my emissions. And I said, well, in order for me to calculate you, I need to connect all US. In terms of the technology and the partner who does all this aggregation of data. And then I thought, but that's probably where I have to go. And you will not believe. And then I said him the same doubts that I thought that US probably is not interested in Oksana. And he just told me the conference, the exhibition, the museum he was into, where there was a line of people to check, how much GHG emissions does the plastic bottle means or something, and how many plastic bottles they use a day or something like this. I need to check it again. Sorry if I'm wrong. But he says like there are so many people who are conscious, and in want to get even more conscious, there is no instrument, or the instrument is not impactful,
Right.
So that's what we wanted to do. Basically, that in one click, you get your data. And at the end, once you see the number, it tells you how you can improve your lifestyle by, I'm not telling you like some exact, because it's quite hard at the beginning while we are piloting and we are still looking what data we can check, what not, do GDPR and stuff. But we will give you the one pager where it says very simple, that minus one flight is minus 0.7 ton of CO2 you will not emit if you don't take that flight. You personally can already minus 1 ton of CO2 emission. If we have 1 million of people who do not fly one extra flight the year, that they have taken last year, for example, in comparison, right? So they decarbonize 1 million ton. How easy is that? That's just about flight. Then miles in your case, right? You can just watch the miles because every mile has its own GHG emission depending on the car and fuel, of course, that you ride. We just give there kind of how many GHG emissions you can avoid and you calculate on your own. Then you come back in a half a year and you check how much you've improved. That's this difference. What you checked at the first time and what you check after 3 months or after 6 months, that's the decarbonization. Personal decarbonization that you have done personally on your own and is precisely tracked, written to you. And I hope that maybe people, I mean, it will be the data that we deliver to you and you make it public or not. You decided if you make it public or not.
Yeah.
But then you see, we want to make it somewhere on social media. It's like that people get the badge, I am eco-verified, if
Yeah, I love that.
if it's still black or if it's half green, it's getting kind of, out, like she's improving or something. We would love that too.
Yeah.
So
No, this is all.
how it's happening in your area, like among your colleagues, if it's a LinkedIn badge, that would be so awesome, like we're getting a new sign of intelligence, it's not just the great career you've done, the history of your career. It's not just, skills.
It's the contribution that you're making back into society and back to your community. Yeah. Absolutely. Oksana, thank you so much. This was wonderful. I've learned so much about just the evolution of your own journey as an activist in learning about what actually matters when it comes to also connecting with people and helping them see that why they should get involved. And I think that flip from planting a tree to, saving the planet to surviving ourselves, because as humans, of course we want to think about, how do we protect ourselves? And you're doing just fascinating work that is so critical and so important, and navigating a family war-stricken area, and the fact that you were able to pivot and help support your country within still the mission of the work of protecting the land that we are all trying to live in. It's incredible, beautiful. So thank you, Oksana, so much for sharing your story and sharing this mission, because I think this is something that's important for everybody to hear and see. Where can people connect with you?
LinkedIn is the easiest. On Mile Planted Tree, there is we have all the kind of social media there, and on my LinkedIn, it also leads to the LinkedIn of the company then in company you can see me. You can see this eco verification page as well. There is a presentation, so that will be the easiest and the fastest way.
Yeah, wonderful. I will make sure that everything is linked below and that people can get access to the work you're doing, and that we can create even more momentum for this, because it's that important. Thank you so much.
One who is like people who are doing your kind of job like you do, you are more important than us even, because we're creating it, but we have to put it into the masses. You are the one who are bringing it to that. I'm happy that there are green people, in the media who help to deliver. And once we see you and all the audience excited about it, like they want to do it, of course, we just want to double, triple, speed it up. And, we just want to multiply all our efforts and resources.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Oksana.
Thank you, Payal. And I hope we see each other soon and talk about some impact that we've done.
Absolutely.
Personal impact. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.